Hello. Audio testing audio. All right, we're all set. We wasted like 45 seconds there, but we're going to get right into it. Hello, I'm your host, Juwan the Don, and this is the Wrestling Matters podcast. With no further avail or intro, we're going to get right into today's episode. First of all, I had to show you guys I'm repping Ohio State today. We got some Sammy Sasso merch. We got some Sasso gear in the building. The Buckeyes wrestled tonight against Michigan. We're going to talk a little bit about that to get things kicked off. We'll do a little bit of college, a little bit of high school. Where are we at today? Okay, Ohio State versus Michigan wrestling. Ohio State versus Michigan wrestling. Okay, this should be a pretty fun duel tonight. It's going to be on the Big Tit Network if you'd like to watch. Once again, that's on the Big Tit Network. You're going to get Ohio State versus Michigan, two top 5 to top 10 programs in Division I wrestling, and we're going to have some good matches there. So be on the lookout. I myself might shoot out and go watch it in person. Big Big Ten wrestling fan. And I'm going to go support the guys. We got some guys from Indiana, and then, Ohio State has welcomed me with open arms in their media room. So, I'm probably going to shoot out there, but this is a little preview for the match before we get started. And I got a lot to cover today because we got to get into Iowa versus Penn State, and then we have to talk a little bit about the IHSAA wrestling because the sectionals start in the morning, okay? And we've interviewed a lot of not a lot. We've interviewed some coaches in Indiana, and it's time to see how they're going to do because the tournament starts in the Indiana in the morning. So that's the IHSAA sectionals. You can see those brackets on trackwrestling.com or on Indiana Mat if you're interested. Yep, and we're going to get right into this Ohio State versus Michigan wrestling. Some key matches that I'm going to talk about in this duel is at 125. These are two rangy guys, Jack Medley and Malik Heinzelman. Medley is a guy that has taken some weird losses, but he's also had some stingy performances in defeat. He's wrestled some elite guys tough. He has some upset victories over some ranked guys, but never has fully found his way consistently in his stride. So Jack Medley is what we call a dangerous wrestler. He can beat anyone. He can hang with anyone. You never know which version of him you're going to get, but he's definitely a tough guy for Michigan that's been in and out of that lineup. Malik Heinzelman is a stud for Ohio State, All-American threat. I would say he's somewhere ranked in the top 10 right now, approximately. But he's around a 12 to All-American threat for the Buckeyes, and he's in for a fight against Jack Medley. This should be a good match, starting right off in the duel. Okay, we got our logo back up. There we go. We had to get our logo back up. I don't know what happened to it. But yeah, right off in that Ohio State versus Michigan duel, you're going to have Jack Medley and Malik Heinzelman, which is going to be a banger. And then at 133, don't blink because you're going to get Dylan Ragusin versus Jesse Mendez, okay? These are two guys that have potential to be All-Americans this year. These are two top 10 to top 5 guys, depending on how things shuffle out. Ragusin is tough. He gave RBY his closest match of the season. I believe he lost a 4-2 decision to RBY. He's had tough wars with Mikael McGee from Arizona State. So Ragusin is game. He's a very physical hand fighter, and this is a big test for Jesse Mendez, okay? I heard Mendez, if you listen to Tom Ryan, Mendez was a little banged up earlier in the year, but we got to get in full stride before Big Ten. So this is a big test for conference seeding and potentially NCAA seeding. And this is one that Mendez really wants on his side because it's a rivalry with Ohio State and Michigan. And this is a real measuring stick for his season. Although it is still early, Ragusin is a gatekeeper at this weight, okay? If you can beat Ragusin, you're in semifinal / national title contention. If you can't get past Ragusin, you might be, round of 12 low AA. So Ragusin is tough. Ragusin and Mendez, they're going to hand fight. That's going to be a big match tonight. Is Dylan Ragusin and Jesse Mendez. Keep your eyes on there. Also, a key matchup in this Ohio State-Michigan duel. I'm looking at 165. We haven't been too healthy for the Buckeyes, but this is a potential rematch of two All-Americans when we have Carson Karchula versus Cam Amin. Okay, these are two guys that All-American last year, and they had some tough wars. These are guys that have been banging it out with the Marinellis of the world, the Dean Hamidis, and these are two guys that are low-level All-Americans just because the depth of the weight. We have 3 national champs here, and I believe an NCAA runner-up, Quincy Monday. So 165 is absurdly deep. But Karchula and Amin, they're great. They're guys with credentials that come from wrestling families as well, and they're going to be looking to get on top of the podium. So first things first, they're going to have to take care of each other. So this is going to be a war. I'm not 100% that you'll see Karchula tonight, just because I know he's a little banged up and had some weight issues. But we're looking at Amin, who just took a loss to Alex Facundo, a former in-state rivalry from in Michigan, where they've wrestled at Central Regionals in the high school state finals. Okay, he was in an overtime war with Facundo last Friday in the Penn State Michigan duel. So Amin is going to want to get back on track here because we have so many returning All-Americans at the weight. And then when you bring in a young guy like Facundo, who might have some Big Ten seeding over you now, Amin's going to really be looking for a win here against Karchula. Once again, I can't guarantee you that Karchula will wrestle tonight. And we've seen this in some of these Big Ten duels. You're looking for a big matchup. They pull a guy. He's a little banged up. They want to protect the seed. But if you do get it, I would definitely have my eyes on Karchula versus Amin at 165. That's one of the premier matchups of the night. And also, we had Dylan Ragusin. This is going to be a fun duel. We're going to get a little bit of Lamer versus Sasso. Once again, guys, we got some Sasso merch on us. Support your college wrestlers. They have NIL deals now where these guys can, try to fend for themselves and earn some money. So find your favorite wrestler, find your favorite college team, try to get some merch and help out. We're a tight-knit community, and the least we could do is look out for each other. So that's Ohio State. That's a little bit of Sammy Sasso talk, a little bit of Buckeyes. Other matches in this duel. Once again, I said look out for Lamer and Sasso. Sasso's going to want bonus here to help his team win the duel, but Lamer's tough as nails. I wonder if we'll get Will Luwan versus Patty Gallagher at 157. Once again, Patty's been a little beat up, but that's going to be like a one takedown match. Will Luwan's ranked a little higher, but he tends to keep his matches kind of close. So Will Luwan, the junior world champ, I believe, from Michigan. I don't know if he's a cadet or junior world champ, but a good freestyler. Very solid guy, stays in low position, but he doesn't score a lot of points. And sometimes he can be victim of some upsets. Of note, thank you, Doctor. I appreciate it. We're going to keep working. Of note, at 157, Patty Gallagher is a high-level recruit that hasn't had that signature win yet, and he's going to be looking to he needs one. He needs one. Okay, this is one. This is going to be a battle at 157 as well. If we get that Patty Gallagher versus Will Luwan, these guys are tough hand fighters, very solid, one attack a match type guys. This is going to be a 3-1, 3-2 match. You're in for a treat if it's 5-4 because these guys hold position quite a bit. So Looking for a war here in Ann Arbor. This is a true rivalry. Tune in on the Big Ten Network. These guys don't like each other. They've swapped out spots on the podium at top 4 at NCAA's as far as the team now. Follow me, the team race for Ohio State and Michigan. This matters. And this is a true rivalry in wrestling and just in the schools in general. Both teams made the college football playoffs, and they feel like they have unfinished business. So from a rivalry standpoint, and you look at some of the Big Ten matchups from last year at the Big Ten championships, this isn't sweet. You know, these guys are going to go fight like heck. Expect some blood on the mat and some overtime matches here in Ann Arbor at the Chrysler Center. So if you can't get there, tune in on the Big Ten Network. This is going to be a match. Everyone's talking about Iowa, Penn State, but I don't want you guys to miss this one right here because Ohio State, Michigan, I can't guarantee you who all will be in the lineup because we got some guys pulling out, but this will be a banger. This will be a true Big Ten gritty wrestling, and we'll see what each team's made of. And certain guys will separate themselves to put themselves on a path to All-American after tonight. So that's the Ohio State versus Michigan match. I'm excited for that. Yeah, be on the lookout. Once again, that's on the Big Ten Network. And try to tap into that match today at 6 p.m. Once again, that's 6 p.m. on the Big Ten Network. All right. Next match tonight is the big one, okay? Number 1 versus number 2, and that's Iowa versus Penn State. Who do you have? You know, feel free to comment your opinions on this duel. I've been hearing a lot of Spencer Lee should bump up to face RBY. Does anyone have an opinion on that? Feel free to share. I'm not going to get too into it because I don't think it'll happen. It'll be a true treat for the wrestling community if we get that. But something tells me that might be like a pay-per-view card after the season, or we can catch it at the World Team Trials if RBY wants to come down to 57 kilograms. If Spencer Lee bumps up to 133 and beats RBY, he's a superhero. Okay. All right. I'm just joking. But hey, I mean, I will be impressed. I can take my hat off. And if he were to bump up and beat a guy on a 45 match win streak who's a 2-time national champ, it would be unheard of. He's already pinned the number 3 and number 4 ranked wrestlers in the country in the first period in dominant fashion. So I'm torn between you have nothing to prove me and you have nothing to lose to, you know, if you're dominating everyone in front of you, keep going. So I don't know. I'm not going to hold my tongue all night, hoping to see them wrestle. You know, if they do, I'll be very excited. It'll be a true treat to the wrestling community, but I won't hold my breath on that. As far as the overall duel, it's a doozy. Okay, we have Iowa and Penn State. This is going. I was telling you guys Ohio State and Michigan is going to be a match. What about this one? Iowa and Penn State. Wow. Like I said, there's multiple seriously long match winning streaks on the line, being put on the line here, and especially if RBY and Spencer Lee were to wrestle. But I'm not going to assume it. If they do wrestle, we'll be back on this weekend to break it down and talk to you guys about it, and that's a fact. But there's some key matchups. Let me get into some key matchups for this duel, okay? Let me get into some key matchups. I won't froth over RBY and Spencer Lee. I won't get too excited about that. I'll believe it when I see it. But what I do see are a couple compelling matches here. Okay. In my key matchups, I have listed Bo Bartlett, who's number 4 in the country right now, who's undefeated, 14-0 on the season. He's also a junior world bronze medalist, aka he's game. He's a quality opponent. He's ready to go. And then we have Real Woods here, who's undefeated, one of the highest returning All-Americans, who's a transfer from Stanford, who's undefeated for the Hawkeyes this year. Okay, Real Woods is, you know, his name is synonymous with winning. I remember going out to Folk Style Nationals in high school and seeing Real Woods' name on the board in the finals as he won. I remember being little and like bantam at like 8 or 9 years old and seeing Real Woods win it. So he's a staple of consistency in the sport. Will he get his national title this year? Will he go unblemished this regular season? You got to stay tuned to watch. And this duel will begin at 8:30, okay, on the Big Ten Network, almost immediately following the Ohio State-Michigan duel. And this is what I'll say about this one is This is going to be a war between Bo Bartlett and Real Woods. The athleticism is nearly the same. I think on the mat, Real Woods has a little bit of an advantage, but he's going to have to execute. Okay, this is a war between, what is this, number 2 and number 4 in the country. Everyone's talking about matches that might not happen, but this is one that will happen that I have my eyes on. Big Ten seeding's a factor here in the future. Keep an eye on that Bo Bartlett versus Real Woods match. It'll be a doozy. This should be a great match, and I could go on and on about the accolades and reasons that they match up well, but we'll just have to see tonight when they hit what happens. Okay, my second key matchup here I have listed is PK, also known as Patrick Kennedy from the Iowa Hawkeyes. He'll be taking on Alex Facundo from Penn State. Okay, these guys actually wrestled at Who's Number One in 2019, and I was there. I went out there with my guy, the General Heavy Hands. He had me out there with some of his family in Iowa, and I got up with my guy, Seth, and we took off to Iowa in 2019 to support Jesse Mendez and a few others and get a glance at the highest level at Who's Number One. So when I was out there checking out, and actually we got a lot of 2019 alumni from Who's Number One wrestling tonight, because that night I watched Mendez versus Shane Van Ness. Van Ness is going to be wrestling 149 for the Hawkeyes, and he's going to have a tough match too with Max Murin. So we'll get into that in a second. But PK versus Facundo, right? I think I lost a few push-ups bet on that one because I had Facundo winning and Patrick Kennedy upset him at Who's Number One. If it's an upset, I don't know if 1 and number 2 can be an upset, but I thought Facundo was a strong favorite coming in, and Kennedy ended up winning that match in Carver Hawkeye Arena, and then he ended up committing to the Hawkeyes, and he's there now. And Facundo's at Penn State, and this is going to be a tough match, and it's going to have a big impact on this duel. For Iowa to have any kind of chance to pull this off, I'm thinking Patrick Kennedy is going to have to beat Facundo. And this should be a war, okay? Patrick Kennedy got the last one 3.5 years ago in high school, but Facundo's coming off a big win over All-American Cam Amin. So it was an honor to watch these guys wrestle in person at Who's Number One in 2019, and I imagine it'll be a war now at the Division I level in college, and that's Patrick Kennedy versus Alex Facundo. It goes without saying I referred to Shane Van Ness. This is gonna be a duel. Okay, this is gonna come down to each match matters. The margin of error is pretty slim for each team. So as you mentioned before, Shane Van Ness, who wrestled Jesse Mendez at Who's Number One in 2019, he'll be hitting Max Murin tonight, who's a tough out and a really scrappy hand fighter out of Pennsylvania, who's defensively pretty sound, and he's going to come forward and put heavy hands on you. And then my last key matchup for this Penn State-Iowa duel, I'm not going to get in too big to the numbers and the predictions. I just want you guys to be aware. Number 1 versus number 2 wrestles tonight on the Big Ten Network at 8:30. And we'll get Greg Kirkvliet versus Big Tony Cassiope. This should be a banger. There's a lot of parity here at heavyweight. I think Cassiope had Kirkvliet's number. Kirkvliet had Mason Paris's number. Paris beat Kirkvliet. I want to say Kirkvliet beat, I don't know if it was Cass. He beat someone. Did he beat Cassiope at the All-Star Classic? I should have did my homework there. Either way, that's going to be a match. Kirkvliet and Big Cassiope. There's national title implications. There's Big Ten seeds. And there's a lot that goes into this overall match duel between Iowa and Penn State, and the last match at heavyweight between Kirkvliet and Cassiope, who are world medalists at the age level in their own right, just to give you an idea of how high level this match is. Okay, Kirkvliet is a junior world silver medalist, and Cassiope is a U23 world gold medalist. So just to give you an idea of how high level this match is going to be, it's a pretty big deal. So there's not a weak wait here. There's not a spot where you should see a bad match tonight. So tune in on the Big Ten Network. At 6 o'clock, you have Ohio State versus Michigan. At 8:30, you have Iowa versus Penn State. We also got Nelson Brands versus Carter Starachi. Don't go anywhere. You might want to use the bathroom before and have your popcorn ready when you're tuned into the Big Ten Network tonight, because there are some matches going on. That's funny. Moving along into a little bit of Indiana wrestling, we have the IHSAA sectionals beginning tomorrow morning, and that is Saturday, January 28th, okay? IHSAA sectionals out of Indiana. That's where I'm based at. I'm out of Indiana, so I do a lot of national coverage, but I do some home-based coverage as far as Indiana goes. And so boom, the IHSAA sectionals begin. That means the state tournament is on its way. By Saturday evening, over half of the state will be done with their season. That's unfortunate, but they'll have to get on their horse that I like to call the off-season wrestling and put the work in to prepare for what they want to get done. Sectionals. As I'm scrolling through these sectionals brackets in the IHSAA, something that caught my eye that might not be the most popular sectional or not the most talked about thing in Indiana high school wrestling, but something that I noticed that was of note is in the West Noble sectional, okay? In the West Noble sectional, at 113 pounds, there's 3 guys who combined for a record of 73-1 on the season. What? I don't know if I've ever seen that. In the West Noble sectional at 113 pounds, the top 3 seeds have a combined record of 73-1. Okay? You got number 7, Blake Byerly out of East Noble. He's the number 7 guy in the state, as I just said. He's 18-0 on the season, okay? You also have number 15, Drew Walden. Is it Waldron or Walden? I got Drew Walden, number 15 out of DeKalb, who is 25-1 on the season. And then somehow we have unranked in the state, Cameron Straw from Angola, who's 30-0, okay? He's had some close matches, but at the end of the day, he's undefeated. And I want to say he went to the ticket round of semi-state last year. So, yeah, they're tough. Waldron, thank you. Yeah, Drew Waldron, that's a tough kid. I've seen him wrestle. I know that for a point there, Douglas from Norwell, that was his only loss. And I saw he won the Defiance tournament there in the off season. Not in the off season, but on Christmas break, he went to Ohio and won the Defiance Border War, Tri-State Border. So, man, I don't really know how that all plays out or how many of them go to state, but I just thought that was wild to see 3 guys in the same sectional for a combined 73-1. It's a rare sight. Oh, wow. So, yeah, I just had a commenter. Mr. Doster just told me Waldron and Byerly could have hit last week, but Waldron was out with a sickness at the NEA conference, and they're going to have to hit at the sectional, okay, because that's going to be a semifinal. Because Straw's the 1 seed, and then we'll have Waldron and Byerly in the semis. Okay, so I'll have to look as far as how that plays into the semi-state and the regional and who all gets out, but I've seen those kids wrestle and they're all pretty tough. So I'll have to keep an eye and see who draws in them at regional. Do those 3 guys go to semi-state? How do their semi-state draw looks? And it's just a beautiful puzzle that is Indiana wrestling, and it's good to see everything build off of that. So I know Byerly's tough. I know Waldron's tough. I know Straw. I saw Straw at Folk Style State putting in some work. So This is tough. This is tough. So we're gonna move on. There's so much that we could cover as far as Indiana wrestling. So we're just gonna go weight by weight, and I'm gonna go over the top. I'm gonna go over the top 2 guys ranked in the state at each weight class, according to Indiana Matt. Bear with me. I'm gonna try to mention some other guys and some the weights that I know more about. We'll talk about what we got going there, and let's get started. So at 106 pounds, our top 2 are Lane Horn and Revin Dickman. This should be interesting. I want to say Horn beat Dickman at the IHBO 1-0. Not a lot of separation, but although if you look, Lane Horn hasn't took a loss in Indiana in quite a bit. Dickman's game out of Brownsburg, Coach Snyder, they're gonna have a game plan ready, and I'm very used to seeing Brownsburg wrestlers make runs, but this could be zebra time for Lane Horn in Rochester, and they're in the area in the Fort Wayne semi-state, just like that West Noble sectional I referred to, even though he's at 106 and these guys are at 113. But it's just a testament to the area and tough individuals setting the tone in the Fort Wayne semi-state and in Northeast Indiana in general. So we got Lane Horn and Revin Dickman. Other people at the weight, I'll mention Juliana Ocampo, the first girl to ever win the Al Smith Classic. She's number 5 at 106. And I think that, she's going to get an opportunity to probably wrestle Horn or Bollinger again at semi-state. And she's in the mix here, very technically sound. I'll add Bollinger from Delta is a stud. He's undefeated as well, I believe, at number 3. So 106, I think the rankings are pretty correctly put together. Shout out to IndianaMat.com. But I think there's parity there for I think it can mix up a little bit. I think that top 6 is very competitive, and they could switch around. I'm not very sure or guaranteed about what can happen there. 113 pounds, that's a weight that we talked about a little bit. We had a couple undefeated guys there, though lower in the rankings. At the top here, it's Luke Rio and Preston Haynes. Luke Rio and Preston Haynes. Any opinions on 113? Just from what I've seen so far, I would like to say Preston Haynes, even though I saw him take a loss here. Saw him take a loss in state, but I've also seen him, come back from a lot down against, I think that was Gendreas from Crown Point. He was down, he came back, ended up finding some near falls. So I haven't watched Luke Rio wrestle this year. But I believe did he get 6th last year at 106? Is that who I'm thinking of? Yep. Okay. So Rio's undefeated. He was 6th last year at 106. He's good. I've seen him before. I want to see how he matches up against I don't know. I don't think that he wins it though. He's really good. I think he might make the semifinals, but I think Preston Haynes, Gendreas, and then maybe one other guy. Who did I see at 113? Charlie LaRocca, Jalen May, Blake Byerly, Jackson Houston. So, yeah, this is a tough weight, man. This is a tough weight. There's going to be some kids going home Friday night that you wouldn't have expected. So 113 is tough like it always is in Indiana. At 120 pounds, Ashton Jackson and Jake Hockaday. This is probably one of the weights I'm most excited for just because 120 is a fun weight in general. It's deep across almost every regional, every semi-state. And then you take a look at the 2 guys listed here at 120, both won state last year. So we're talking about 2 returning state champs in the same weight. Ashton Jackson, a 2-time returning state champ, committed to Purdue and looking for his 3rd. Okay, Hockaday's a sophomore who's looking for his 2nd. Okay, so you got a guy who's looking to be a 4-timer. You got a guy who's looking to be a 3-timer. There's no other way you'd rather have it. That ought to be a match. I'm looking at the field. I know Tishner gave Ashton Jackson a tough match at the Al Smith. What else do we have here? Who's number 3? Isaiah Schaefer and Neil Mosier laying Gilbert in the mix. So that's a tough weight. 120 is tough. And my heart tells me Ashton Jackson, But I think you could flip a coin at 120 between Jackson and Hockaday. I think those are the clear favorites. But I think Hockaday, I think Ashton Jackson usually wins like more calm, controlled matches. But I think Hockaday is going to want that match to be a little bit wild. And he has more higher scoring matches. So I know Jackson's going to want to ride and, slow him down. And Hockaday is going to want to have some exchanges here. So that I think the higher the score, the more advantage for Hockaday. Lower the score, more advantage for Ashton Jackson. All right. Your top two guys at 126, you got Logan Frazier and Aiden Reyes. I don't do this very often, but I think Logan Frazier is a lock. Okay, we got a returning state champ. He's committed to wrestle at Virginia Tech University. Yeah. Logan Frazier, man, I just haven't seen it. I haven't seen the guy. I was hearing whispers that earlier in the year that Kyrell Evell would be at 26. I was interested. Now I'm bored. Not literally, but I just don't see it. That's why we wrestle. That's why I'm gonna watch, because someone might beat him, but I just don't see it. Aiden Reyes. Let me take a glance here. Okay, Reyes. Is Reyes undefeated on the year? He has one loss. I don't know. Reyes is a senior from Cathedral. That's a great program. They tend to figure it out late. Yeah, I think Logan Frazier, if he's healthy, I think he's a lock to win state at 126. No such thing as a lock, but if we had to give one out, I'm feeling it here. Keegan Schleybaugh, Toby Billerman. These are tough guys. These are Billerman, and these are D1 guys. Schleybaugh. You got the freshman Tylen Thrine here, Jackson Bradley. These are some tough freshmen. Okay, I'm not gonna sleep on these freshmen. I've been hearing about them for a while, but I just think Logan Frazier is too experienced. He went 3-2-1, and he's looking to add another one to it. I'm gonna go ahead and lock him up. I don't think that Logan Frazier is gonna lose at 126. With a look at the field, respectfully. Also, shout out to Evan Sang. Evan Sang is in the mix at 126. I won't write off Evansville Mater Dei either. They tend to make things happen when it's tournament time. So 126, it looks like the Logan Frazier show. Someone would have to shop me, him, the state, the country. But that's why we wrestle. It's definitely possible. There's some talented guys in this field. Some dangerous freshmen, but give me Logan Frazier at 126. 132. Here we go. We got Joey Butler and Brady Eisen. Okay, this one's interesting. Shout out to Joey Butler. He's a stud, great wrestler. He just committed to IU, Indiana University. He'll be there with Angel Escobedo, Chad Red, Riley Lefevre. Great program on the up. I believe they're ranked number 17 right now. So yeah, shout out to Joey Butler on committing to IU. We need more in-state talent at Bloomington. And this is a guy that I imagine will be competitive for the RTC as far as freestyle and Greco. I think he'll be like a kind of like Donnell Washington in a way. Is like he's not just going to be there for the season. Like I'm pretty sure he's going to be going to the Junior Open and all that stuff. So shout out to Joey Butler. He's in for a war because the number 2 guy here is Brady Eisen, who I'm pretty high on. And I think that he has potential to beat a Joey Butler. And I want to say these guys are in the same regional. Is that a Mooresville regional? I want to say. Is that the correct answer? Yeah, these guys are going to have to hit at probably regional, semi-state, maybe even state. I also thought I I keep mentioning Kyrell. I don't know what happened with Kyrell Levell. I witnessed him get injured when I was in Virginia Beach last summer, and then I know he was back for a little bit, but he seems to be out now. Yeah, if he was at 32, I'd be a little bit more intrigued, but this is a deep weight. Hold on. I got Joey Butler, Brady Eisen. So we got Czar Walker, Michigan commit. So we got 2 Big Ten commits at the weight. And I will also say this. I was at the Grappler Fall Classic, and I saw Czar Walker beat Joey Butler. Okay. Do with that what you will. I don't know. And then I'm assuming Czar went down a little bit because he lost to DeMarco at the Al Smith. Is that what's going on here? 10-7. Oh, yeah, I seen that match. That was wild. Oh, DeMarco's a problem out here. He took out Maldonado as well. Okay. So Hayden DeMarco out of Chesterton is number 8, 2-time state medalist, but he has wins over number 4 and number 3. So I'll keep my eye out here. Okay, wow. I got a comment saying that Kyrell's coming back from a broken wrist. So it's tough. There was the elbow, then the wrist. We're talking about a guy that's only lost, you count on one hand how many times he's lost in high school. So it's tough not to get a full glance at him. 132. I can't lock anyone up here. I believe this to be an open weight. I see Joey Butler, Brady Eisen, Czar Walker. I know Maldonado is tough. Where's Doster? So is this why don't I have Easton Doster in the state rankings at 132? Did I miss something? Okay. Yeah. Okay, so you can confirm Kyrell Levell is in the sectional bracket at 132? Wow. This is a mess because now I'm looking at the Indiana MAT rankings, and I don't have Doster or Levell in them. And I can't fault the rankers, but I want to say both guys are undefeated. And both guys are title threats. So 132 just got really interesting. Appreciate you, Dave. Got a little piece of information down there in the chat. Because, yeah, I was scrolling. I'm looking at the rankings. I'm like, nah, this looks a little bit thinner than I expected. Okay, so we got Doster coming back, who was out for a little bit and wrestled at his conference. I saw that. He won his conference, pinned everybody in a matter of seconds. So we'll be on the lookout for Easton Doster as well. They kind of threw me off for a little bit there with him not being in the rankings, but a little inactivity. He was out since December 19th, so he missed a month. But I'm looking here at these rankings, and he's definitely a title threat here. And I would assume that he wins this Fort Wayne semi-state. I see the Western kid at number 6, and I would assume Doster to be above him. And I would assume, I would assume Levell and Doster should round out this top 5. Right. I got Butler, I got Eisen, I got Czar Walker, and I believe that Levell and Doster will round out that top 5 in no particular order. These are national level guys that have all, made the finals at preseason nationals, won 7 matches at U17. So these are all guys that are elite. This is one of the deepest weight classes in Indiana, is 132. Okay, confirmation. Doster is still number 1 in the semi-state at 132. And we have a guy ranked below him at 6th in the state. So that kind of confirms he's considered a top 5 guy. So that's 132. That's probably one of the more intriguing weights. I saw, there's a lot of, I got some dark horses. They're not even dark horses. I got title contenders that aren't in the rankings. So I'll have to do a little homework and look at a couple more brackets. And then before our regional preview, and I'll have more information and more clarity on that weight class coming into next week. At 138 pounds, we have number 1 and 2 is Cole Salome and Cheney Chef. Shout out to Cheney Chef. He's been one of our few. He was our first high school wrestling guest on the show. If you haven't, go to our YouTube channel and check out our interview with Cheney Chef. But some of that information has changed as he's recently decommitted from NC State. Okay. I talked to him briefly. I haven't had a chance to talk to him in depth about that or where he's headed. He said he's going to take his time and take a couple of visits. I know he was looking at IU. He posted a picture in the IU singlet. He said not committed, though, so it was just a visit. Shortly after Butler commits to IU, I'm not trying to start any drama. I don't know if that's a factor or anything, but I don't know where Cheney will end up. Something to look at. I know that what matters to him most is completing his career with a state title, because he's been everything. He's done everything but that. Okay, he's a stud out of Indiana here. We're talking Avon High School, Cheney Chef. This guy went 2nd as a freshman, 2nd as a sophomore, 3rd as a junior. Okay, so it appears to be a collision course between Cheney Chef and Cole Salome. They're number 1 and number 2. Number 3 is Parker Reynolds, and Chef already has a 5-2 victory over him. I would definitely take a glance at number 4 and 5 in the state. Undefeated 2-time state qualifier Tony Wood, looking to break through the gates of Friday night and get a medal. And he's a threat because he's tough, man. This Tony Wood is no joke. He can make a little run here. I don't know. I'm also looking at the super freshman, Jeffrey H. Let me try it. Jeffrey Huyvart. I probably butchered that. But shout out to Jeffrey H. He follows the podcast. He always has. Before I knew who he was, he's in middle school. He was tapped in with us. But Jeffrey has been dominating people. I'm gonna go ahead and not sleep on Jeffrey. Just looking at the results and his interest in the sport. If he wasn't in school right now, he'd probably be watching along with us. So, no, I can't sleep on Jeff. I can't sleep on little Jeffrey H. out of New Prairie. He's a threat. He's definitely a threat here. Who else do I see? Will he in the Mooresville sectional? We'll have to get a Reese Courtney versus Trevor Hott rematch, which should be interesting with Cheney Chef and Parker Reynolds on the other side. So 138 is tough. I'm just looking to see who gets out of each semi-state so that I have more of an idea of how things will play out. But 138 is a fun weight. I'll say Cheney Chef leads the pack so far. A lot of people say Cole Salome, but just looking at their state placings and competition, I'm going to come out of my way and say that Cheney Chef is the favorite here. Time will tell, though. Moving along, weight classes. Let's go up to 145. 145, I got Aiden Torres and Anthony Ball. Anthony Ball wasn't in the state rankings. Can anyone confirm if Anthony Ball is in the sectional bracket? Chat, if anyone can take a glance and look, we can move on. But if anyone knows that, just go ahead and type that in and let me know. But because I didn't see Anthony Ball there, but I put him anyways because I assumed he's going to go. He's one of the toughest guys I've seen around here. I'm assuming that he'll strap up his boots regardless. But I don't know the details of what's going on in the Crown Point room. Aiden Torres is number 1. The interesting thing about Torres and Ball, if they both go, is that they're both committed to IU and they're both in the same weight class. And I would grade them about similarly as recruits. So that's interesting. Maybe a potential, future wrestle off in the college room could happen in the state finals. So, that's if we see Anthony Ball, who was taken out of the rankings, I'm sure, due to inactivity. I don't think he was at the Al Smith, but I'll have to take a glance in my free time to see if he's in the sectional brackets. But Aiden Torres is tough. He's tough. He tears people up, and he doesn't really have a weakness, in my opinion. Torres appears to be good in all 3 positions. Once again, that's Aiden Torres, 3-time state medalist out of Chesterton, who was 3rd at 145 last year. But according to let me not disrespect Jack Todd out of Pendleton Heights. Okay, as the rankings are set right now, they got number 2 Jack Todd. Let me give him his moment. I'm not gonna write him off. I've actually saw him wrestle at the Yorktown Freestyle Open, and I was impressed. I said, "Who is this kid?" I saw Jackson Todd. Looks like he's undefeated. Looks like he's having a good year out of Pendleton Heights. He's a junior. Couple significant victories. Okay, I'm gonna have an eye out for him. We also got, what is this here? Ike O'Neill, Wesley Smith, Brevin Thrine, Braden Spears, Dylan Graham, Mason Day, Cameron Clark, number 9, Little Solomon, number 11. Well, I'm gonna call him Little. I guess they're twins, and he's a bigger weight class. Robards is tough out of Evansville Central. So, yeah, Braxton Miller out of DeKalb. He's tough. Okay. 145, I like to call it the sweet spot because I always feel like it's a pretty open weight. Not to say, no disrespect to Torres or anyone there, but 45 is just a size that I usually see a guy I wasn't expecting in the finals. So I'm interested in 145. Anyone have an opinion, or a question, feel free to let me know. Moving up to 152, we got 2 nationally ranked guys here. Bryce Lowry out of Roncalli and Anthony Reinhardt out of Crown Point. Now, these 2 guys are definitely testaments of the work you put in and strength of schedule, because Lowry was 5th at state last year and Reinhardt was 7th. Is that right? Yeah, Lowry was 5th and Reinhardt was 7th. And these guys have beaten nationally ranked guys. Both of them have. And both of them are in the Flow rankings. I believe it's like 12 and 17. But they're in the Flow national rankings as well. So we're deep here at 52. We have some great wrestling between Bryce Lowry and Anthony Reinhardt. That ought to be a war if it's in the finals. Hunter May, Mitchell Betts, Evan Raudebush, Silas Stitz, Gavin Davis, other title and semifinalist threats that are in the mixed. We'll have to look out for 152. But those 2 definitely lead the pack. I would say this is Bryce Lowry's weight to win. And Reinhardt is a close second, but he's savvy. And I'm sure they're game planning for Lowry. But Lowry's pace, physicality is just not, it's hardly matched. At 160, Sam Goen, number 12 in the country, IU commit. Staple of consistency this last couple of years. Won state last year. So I'm looking for Sam Goen. It looks like he seems to set himself apart from the rest of the class. Goen, he looked to me, I saw him get 4th at the Super 32 in one of the toughest weights. He got 4th at Super 32, and there was a cadet world champion in the weight. There was a Little Ferrari who's number 1 at the weight. And then I believe Goen lost to Nico Ruiz out of California for 3rd. So he was at one of the toughest weights at the Super 32, and he got 4th in it. He's ranked, I think he was ranked 9th in the country. He slipped down to maybe 12. But look for Sam Going. I would say he's about as close to a lock as there is here. He's in a similar situation. I put Logan Frazier in, is that I just don't see it. There's some tough guys. I would look out for let me not disrespect. Farnell is number 2 here, but I still see a little bit of a drop off here after number 1. My biggest dark horse threat, and it's not a dark horse because he's number 3, but I think the only person that has a chance with him is Jed Pretchell, a guy I saw lose, I believe, an overtime match in the ticket round to Cade Law, who's at Purdue, wrestler out of Columbus East. And sometimes you see a guy who will lose to a state champ or state runner-up in the ticket round and give him a better match than the guy in the semifinals did. So you never know. But I would definitely look out for Jed Pretchell. He's not going to sneak up on anyone undefeated at number 3 in the state, but he's one of the last hopes, considering that Going Tech Fall, the number 4 guy in the state. So we'll see. That's Sam Going. Let me mention a few other. Farnell was 6th last year at 160. He comes back at the weight. But he had a close 10-6 match with the freshman Brant Beck out of the Rochester, and they're in the sectionals. They're going to wrestle tomorrow, guys. They're going to wrestle again. I don't know if that's solved. And that's number 10 versus number 2. So this is a tough weight. This is a tough weight at 160. It's one of the deeper weights. I see a lot of great wrestlers, but this is Goins' weight. 170. I'm gonna lock in Delaney Ruhlman. I was appalled as I scrolled through the national rankings that he wasn't on there. I just don't believe that there's 20 170 pounders in the country better than Delaney Ruhlman right now. With all due respect to Cody Goodwin and the number 19 and 20 ranked guy in the country, I just don't see it. This guy has been dominant, and this is a guy that's lost. He got second 2 years in a row. He lost to Mendez and Sam Going, in which Sam Going admitted in an interview after he was stalling. I don't know. Ruhlman, older brother, was a state champ his senior year, and I think Ruhlman dominates his way through this tournament. I don't know if he's had any close matches this year, but I just could see him ragdolling the field. I don't know. That's me personally. Cody Goodwin's tough. I saw he had Conway running away from those underhooks last year in the semifinals, so I can't count him out. I can't count out Cody Goodwin, but personally, I'll lock in Ruhlman just because it's hard for me to see it. Kyle Harden out of Cathedral is ranked 4th as a freshman. He's going to have a good future. That's a guy that the upper weights will have to look out for because he's going to be in the mix for years to come. At 182, you got Orlando Cruz and Diaco Ponvisi. This was the match in the Al Smith finals. These guys were 2nd and 4th in the state last year. 1 and 2. These guys came into the Al Smith number 11 and number 13 in the country. Now I believe they're 13 and 18, something like that. Will VZ make the adjustment? Will Cruz hold him off? We'll have to see in February. I think this is a clear 1 and 2 at the weight. I will not sleep on little Panola out of Zionsville. No, his brother wrestles D1. He's tough as nails. I've seen him wrestle some of my guys before. When he was a freshman, he wrestled one of my seniors that was heading to college, and we scraped by 3-1, but I was like, nah, that guy's going to get his before he leaves. So I like Panola as a dark horse out of the 5. But this is Cruz's weight to lose, and him and VZ should be close. That was a 3-2 match at the Al Smith, and I imagine it'll be razor thin again. But look for VZ to pick up the pace and try to get a takedown so that he can implement some of his top work and really try to ride and build his confidence on the mat. This is a tough one, though. This probably be one of the best matches of the finals if you can watch the intricate details of the match, because Cruz and Ponvisi, that's gonna be a war. Hopefully both guys bring it and they get to wrestle each other in the finals. But 2 nationally ranked guys that are going D1. I believe Cruz is committed to Purdue. Also, going back to 170, I don't want to disrespect. Delaney Roman's committed to Purdue as well, and so yeah, let me mention that for Roman. Don't want to skip over him without saying that. 195, John Purdy and Gunnar Henry. I would say Gunnar Henry here. I would say Gunnar Henry here. Just because he was third last year and then Purdy was sixth, which really doesn't matter, but I don't see why Purdy's ahead of him unless did he beat him in the season last year? Did I miss that? He might have. But one got sixth, one guy got third. Give me the guy that got third. I don't know. I like Chavez, the West Liberty commit, D2 guy. He's in the mix. Look out for Luke Hansen out of Roncalli. It was a tough running back. Led the state of Indiana in rushing yards. And I want to say he upset Gunnar Henry this year. I want to say he beat Gunnar Henry. But yeah, 195 will be a fun one. It always is in Indiana. 220, Will Clark and Brady Beck. To me, Clark has kind of set himself apart from the rest of the field. He's been pretty dominant. He majored more real. That's crazy. Brady Beck is tough. You know, these guys. So he wrestled his brother. He wrestled the other Clark for 5th last year. So Brady Beck is tough. He's undefeated. He's a junior. He's put a lot of work in. We'll look to see what he can do. And the Zebras, Rochester got some guys in the mix here, okay? Brady Beck, he's going to be in for that semi-state, though, where he has Keegan Martin, Chance Harris, and Julante Hinton, which is, with all due respect to Brady Beck, there's no guarantees there because those are some tough big boys in that 4-win semi-state. And there's no separation there. No separation. Heavyweight, Leighton Jones, the Iowa football commit. He has 1 loss in the ultimate tiebreaker in state to Hosea Smith. But then Hosea Smith is only ranked 8th. He's lost a shot in McMahon. So, heavyweight Indiana is always whoever's firing all cylinders that day. There's no guarantees here. 195. I mean, heavyweight in Indiana is usually crazy. The number 1 guy tends to get third quite a bit. I wouldn't wish that on Leighton Jones, but man, he's gotten third before. So we'll see. Make sure you guys tune in to the Big Ten Network tonight at 6:00. Ohio State versus Michigan. We talked about some of those key matchups. Make sure you tune in on the Big Ten Network and get a glance at that. Then we also have Iowa versus Penn State. Of note, number 1 versus number 2. That's going to be at 8:30 on the Big Ten Network. IHSAA sectionals for my guys that are out of Indiana. If you want to follow these rankings and these tournaments I'm talking about, you can go on Track Wrestling, and then you can type in IHSAA or State Heldon and put Indiana, and you'll be able to see those sectional results. Also, Indiana Mat is a good source for those rankings and forums that'll have those results listed. So shout out to IndianaMat.com and Flow Wrestling. They power a lot of the information and that keeps us going. So big appreciation to them. We're coming though. We're on our way. The Wrestling Matters podcast. We're fighting for funding and legitimacy and consistency. So I appreciate you guys tuning in with me. This is Juwan the Don on the Wrestling Matters podcast. We'll be back later this week to review some of these regional draws and some of the Big Ten wrestling that's going on. Once again, support your favorite wrestler. We got Sammy Sasso merch on. Follow him on Instagram. See where to get his merch at. Definitely appreciate him sending this to me. And those Buckeyes, usually look out for me. So I'm going to go head out to Michigan to go cheer for them. Once again, thank you guys. This is Juwan the Don, and this is the Wrestling Matters podcast. Do me a favor, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Subscribe, follow. Appreciate it. Thank you.